Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The night of Lucas's 25th birthday still burns in my memory. The house was filled with the scent of roast beef and champagne, balloons brushing against the ceiling as relatives crowded into the living room. My mother's voice rang with pride as she raised her glass. To Lucas, our shining star. May your future be even brighter. Everyone cheered. I clapped along, forcing my hands together, though my chest felt hollow. I was used to being invisible beside him, but that night something shifted forever. My father stepped forward, carrying an envelope. He pressed it into Lucas's hand, eyes glittering. Son, this is for your first home. $130,000. Build a life worthy of our name. Gasps filled the room. Lucas's grin stretched ear to ear as he pulled out the check, holding it high like a trophy. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. You've always believed in me. Aunt Grace turned toward me with a polite smile. And what about Kate? Do you have something for her? The room fell silent. My father's gaze landed on me. Cool, sharp. Kate doesn't need help. She's independent. His pause was deliberate. Then with a cruel smirk, he added, though truth be told, independence hasn't stopped her from being a failure. The laughter that followed was quiet, uneasy, but it sliced me open all the same. My throat tightened. I blinked fast, willing the tears not to fall in front of them. I turned to leave, but my mother's voice stopped me. Don't be so sensitive, Kate. You know your brother will carry this family's legacy. You should be proud of him instead of sulking. I whispered, barely audible, I'm proud of him. But who's ever been proud of me? No one answered. I slipped outside, the cold night air biting against my cheeks. Behind me, the party roared on without pause. As I stood beneath the stars, the decision settled heavily in my chest. I would stop chasing their approval, stop waiting for scraps of love. They had given Lucas money, pride, and their blessing. To me, they had given nothing but silence. That night, I quietly vowed to give them the same. Trying not to make any noise, I gathered my few belongings, which fit into a single travel bag, and left the house in the night. And yet, as I walked away from the glowing windows, I felt tears spill freely, burning my skin. A single question echoed inside me. If my own family doesn't see me, will anyone ever truly see me at all? The silence after cutting my family off was deafening at first. I woke each morning half expecting a call, a message, some desperate attempt to bring me back. But none came. The void was both painful and liberating. Work became my lifeline. I threw myself into interior design projects with a focus sharper than ever. At first, it was small jobs, repainting a studio apartment, rearranging a cramped living room. But I poured my soul into every detail, sketching late into the night, driven by a need to prove, at least to myself, that I wasn't the failure my father named me. Then came the turning point. One chilly afternoon, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Kate Richards? I've seen your portfolio, a woman's confident voice said. I want you to design my entire penthouse. Name your rate. My hands shook as I answered. For the whole space? My rate is, I faltered, then forced myself to finish, quoting a sum I thought outrageous. Perfect, she replied without hesitation. I nearly dropped the phone. That night, sitting at my tiny desk, tears streamed down my face. For the first time, I felt seen, not by my parents, but by someone who valued what I could create. With new income flowing, I moved into a brighter apartment. Morning light poured through wide windows, touching my yoga mat, where I stretched and breathed away years of tension. I started lifting weights, running, slowly rebuilding the body that once trembled under my father's cruel words. It was there in the fitness studio that I met Oliver. He wasn't flashy. His smile was calm, his eyes steady. After class, he caught me gathering my things and said softly, "You don't realize how strong you look, do you?" I blinked, startled. Strong? Yes, he said simply. Like someone who's been through fire and refused to burn. For the first time in years, I smiled without forcing it. Oliver and I discovered we had many interests in common, and we quickly became friends and even grew fond of each other. After a month, we developed mutual feelings for each other. They happened on a late Sunday drive, the kind Oliver and I often took to escape the city's noise. The road curled through hills when a faded wooden sign caught my eye. 7 acres for sale, affordable. Pull over, I whispered, my heart racing for reasons I couldn't explain. We stepped onto the land, boots sinking into the damp earth. The field stretched wide, framed by towering pines and wildflowers nodding in the breeze. The silence was alive. Birdsong, the rustle of leaves, the distant rush of a stream. Oliver looked at me, his brow lifted. You're glowing. Do you feel it too? I nodded, my throat tight. It feels like home. That night we sat at the kitchen table, running numbers, biting our lips over the risk. The fear of failure clawed at me. My father's words echoed, failure, failure. But Oliver reached across, gripping my hand. Kate, you've built yourself from nothing. If anyone can turn 7 acres into a dream, it's you. We signed the papers a week later. When the deed was placed in my hands, tears blurred my vision. This land wasn't just soil and trees, it was freedom. Together we worked with an architect, sketching the outline of a sleek, modern 700s cottage. Compact, sustainable, filled with light. My fingers trembled as I traced the plans. For the first time, I was creating something lasting. The next 2 years tested us. We hauled lumber, hammered nails, stained wood until our hands blistered. Rain soaked us, sun burned us, but each wall raised was proof that I was not my father's failure. One evening, standing before the half-built cottage, sweat streaking my face, I broke down in Oliver's arms. I can't believe this is mine, but I deserve this. He kissed my forehead gently. Kate, you didn't just deserve it, you built it. And in that moment I wept, not from exhaustion, but from joy. I believed the cottage would be our secret sanctuary, safe from the shadows of my past. For 2 years, no word came from my parents, no trace of Lucas. I allowed myself to believe they had forgotten me. But the past has sharp claws, and it never lets go quietly. It began with a phone call. My phone buzzed one quiet evening while Oliver chopped vegetables in the kitchen. I almost let it go to voicemail, until I saw the name, Lucas. My hands froze. Against better judgment, I answered, Kate? His voice was oddly strained. I saw your advertisement. Your design work. I know where you live now. A chill ran down my spine. Lucas, what do you want? He hesitated, then hung up. A week later, I stepped onto the porch to find him standing at the edge of the driveway, staring at the cottage as if it were some kind of mirage. My parents trailed behind him, their faces pale and unreadable. Kate, my father breathed, his voice breaking. You built this. On your own? I nodded slowly, without $1 from you. His eyes softened, a crack of something like pride flickering through. I was wrong. You're no failure. But my mother's lips tightened, eyes darting over every polished corner, every stone in the path. And Lucas, oh Lucas. His smile faltered, his fists clenched. I saw it in his eyes. Envy, bitterness, desperation. Later I learned the truth. The $130,000 was gone, squandered on 3 failed businesses. He wasn't just broke. He was $30,000 in debt to his partners. That night, as Oliver held me by the fire, I whispered, trembling, they're not here to see me succeed. They're here because Lucas is sinking. And deep inside I knew. The storm hadn't ended. It had only begun. The next morning, the air in the cottage felt heavier than smoke. My parents sat rigidly at the table, Lucas lounging beside them with that sly grin. You must give him half the cottage, my mother declared, her tone sharp as glass. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. Don't forget your surgery at 9, the hospital, the specialists. That was no small cost. Now it's time you give back. Lucas leaned forward, eyes gleaming. I'll take the west side. You can keep the small rooms. Fair enough? My hands trembled, but my voice did not. No. This cottage is mine. I built it, stone by stone. Everything you did was your duty as parents, not an investment to collect back. You're welcome only as guests, nothing more. If you can't respect my boundaries, you can leave. My mother slammed her fist down. Ungrateful girl. I rose, heart pounding. If you cannot respect my boundaries, you cannot stay. Their shouting grew louder, but my decision was stronger. I picked up the phone, each digit pressed like fire on my skin. Police? Yes. I need help. These people refuse to leave my home. Minutes later, red and blue lights flickered against the walls. Lucas hissed as they were escorted out. You'll regret this. But when the door closed, silence filling the room, Oliver wrapped his arms around me. For the first time, I felt it. Not fear, not loss, but peace. The cottage stood unshaken, and so did I.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.